Welcome to this edition of Inside the Academy Studio.
Today's conversation will be about Tom Hooper's The King's Speech. The King's Speech covers the story of King George VI and his unlikely rise to the throne of Great Britain and its Commonwealth, and the various problems he has with stammering and him overcoming it just on the precipice of World War II. Now, this is a movie that I think many people who are alive now did not really know a lot about. We're so familiar with King Elizabeth II, but
Queen Elizabeth
Queen Elizabeth II, but we do forget about her father's story, just beyond the abdication of the throne by his brother, but his overcoming this speech deficiency. Now, I think right away this is a movie that Geoffrey Rush, who plays the Australian speech therapist, put a lot of effort behind, and I think it's really a duo, a partnership at times between Geoffrey Rush and Colin Firth. So, how do you feel this duo does throughout the story?
Yeah, I think they play off each other very well. You can definitely see. It's a very feels like a natural friendship. Like they're not like they don't go all buddy or they don't go all like contentious. It's like very It's weird.
Well, it's definitely not buddy.
Yeah.
He even had that scene outside when he said, "You're just a commoner and I am royalty." So
yeah, so it shows he's a bit stuck up, which is probably wrong. That's accurate. That's how the king really was. So
right, and I think one of the ways that the movie does try to make this relatable, because it's a difficult topic. Royals are usually not seen as people, right? They're just royals.
Yeah.
But that. The sense that he was so stuck up and almost selfish in this friendship that when he does desperately need his help of his friend, he has to compromise instead of everybody else compromising around him.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Now the third wheel in this duo or trio is played by Helena Bonham Carter, who plays Elizabeth, who is now the Queen Mom, but who then was the Queen wife, before that the Prince's wife.
Okay.
She plays a refreshingly light portrayal of somebody who you saw very stoic and very old school, somebody represented really the last link maybe between Victorian monarchy to what monarchy we have today. So I think it was a very light, humorous, and she really helps make the couple relatable to everyone else. Just those stolen moments in the back of the car they had.
Yeah, and then how she's more willing to just be courteous to other regular people. You can see that when she meets with Geoffrey Rush's character's family. She's more open and willing to extend a hand.
That was one of the more strange but very funny scenes in the movie, right? How would you react? And I think it kind of caught how strange it is. This person you kind of never get to see show up in your dining room. Now, let's talk about how this abdication and all the things are revolving around King Edward VIII, who's played by Guy Pearce, and his lurid affair with an American divorcee, Wallace Simpson.
It wasn't an affair. They were in love.
Okay. But I guess it was portrayed as an affair by the British media and tabloids.
Just so pretty crazy today.
Do you
sorry for offending any Brits out there.
Right. Do you feel that this suddenness that was thrust upon Firth's character, King George VI, really just helped make his character more believable, or somebody you could understand why that him overcoming his speech deficiency was so important because he was never, like they say, born for the role. He was kind of thrust into it, so he had to kind of quickly learn on his feet.
Yeah, I think a scenario like that really helped. Even though he was a royal, life of privilege, and he was stuck up, I think this situation helped the audience make it easier to relate to a character like that. He was kind of forced into a situation that he didn't want, which is something a lot of people can relate to.
Right. And I think that the connection is between this script. This script was many years in the process. I think the writer actually got in contact with the Queen Mother, who said, "Do not write it until I pass away because the wounds are still fresh." So it's really something that is a labor of love, and they've tried to make King George VI into a character with flaws, but a character who's redeemable and somebody audiences can genuinely cheer for. I guess that throws it into, this is a period piece. This takes place from the 1925 right up to 1939. How do you feel Tom Hooper and his crew were able to capture that period?
Well, I'm not really familiar with this period, how it was in England, or United Kingdom at the time. So, but I think it showed that things were starting to change, like in the royal family, but there's still a lot of tradition, there's still a lot of pride in tradition.
So you were able to see the evolution through just the sets and the lens, the scope, the vision. How did you see it?
I think, you could see that the whole subject of the speech of the king doing speeches through the radio,
right,
shows that he's more willing to connect to the people as opposed to
radio being the first mass technology that eventually could reach everybody. Everybody would tune in. Now let's talk about this speech. The movie does build up to this speech right after the announcement of war with Germany and Germany's allies. Do you think the film overvalues the speech, or is it not about the speech and more about the process getting to the speech?
I think it's definitely more about the process of getting to the speech. I think because the speech.
So you're telling me the speech did not win World War II?
I think I don't think anybody is saying it won World War II.
Right.
I'm just saying. Well, let's say if the king was kind of just out there and seen weak, even though he doesn't functionally have power at the time in Great Britain, he still doesn't actually, or any head. It's just that they're still seen as a head of state, right? So you just need to keep that unity, and then just the speech is just a cog in that. It keeps if a speech can help a united country in one way, then it's just anyway it was a good time during World War II. Yeah.
Talking about the head of state, we often view these figures as people in a fishbowl, the fishbowl effect. We view them through a glass aquarium, necessarily. So can you compare how, now over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen two historical fiction interpretations of royal life. So can you contrast the royals we see in The Queen by Stephen Frears to Tom Hooper's King's Speech?
Well, I think they were pretty different from each other, right? Because I think The Queen was trying to show how the royals were trying to keep everything contained in order and just trying not to communicate, while the King's Speech was just trying to tell how the royals are trying to communicate.
Right. Yeah. We're nearing the end of today's episode of Inside the Academy Studio, and like always, we like to end with questions. So our first question is, your favorite moment in the King's Speech?
Favorite moment? I think it'd have to be, when he starts just swearing, and then I don't know. I just found that
Right. I'm gonna have to say the meeting between the Queen Mom, or the Queen Elizabeth in this case, and the speech therapist Geoffrey Rush's wife. It's just very odd, and something that really kind of humanizes both characters. Your least favorite moment in the King's Speech?
Least favorite moment? It'd probably have to be when the king at the time kind of just calls out everything. Yeah, it's kind of just awkward. Yeah.
Okay. Well, mine will have to be just the use of the setting, where they use King Edward's chair, the coronation chair, and Jeffrey Rush's character sits down on it, and they have that that standoff where he finally says that I'm allowed to speak because I have a voice to speak. I just feel the setting was a little forced. I thought they could have done it elsewhere. I just didn't like using that chair in that setting to make that point or make that stand. Just personally, I did not like it being there. If it was in real life, I'm sorry, but I just felt it kind of forced in the story. Like we always do, our last question is word association. So when you think King's Speech, what word do you think of?
BBC.
BBC?
Yeah. Not a word, but whatever.
And I think King Edward's chair. So the words we associate with King's Speech are BBC and King Edward's chair. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Academy Studio.